We are hours away from Election Day. In this episode of Follow the Lead podcast, we're talking about third-party advertisers and dissecting why things are so miserable at the moment for Conservative Leader Pierre Poilievre. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Valerie McLaughlin. In my second last episode, I discussed the growing rift between established and independent media during the English leaders debate that happened earlier this month. Things between the two classes of media boiled over publicly to the point where established media were publicly criticizing independent media outlets on live television. If you haven't already listened to that episode, I recommend that you do. One of the issues that emerged from that episode was third-party advertising in the Canadian federal election. For those who need a brief recap, Ezra Levant of Rebel News was accused by journalists at the English leaders debate of being a third-party advertiser, which he is. According to information available on Elections Canada's website, Mr. Levant registered two organizations as third-party advertisers, one being Rebel News and the second For Canada. Mr. Levant confirms in a video that he decided to become a third-party advertiser in an effort to prevent Liberal leader Mark Carney from being elected. I'll play a clip of Mr. Levant explaining why he launched For Canada. This clip comes from Twitter, and he posted it around the time the election first started.
For registering in the election lets me campaign as if I were a political party, including raising and spending money. And in some ways, that gives me even more power than a political party because there are no limits on individual donors. So I'm doing it. I'm setting up a campaign group. We've got 5 weeks to stop Mark Carney. Rebel News will do important work journalistically, but this third-party group I've set up will do other work that Rebel News can't.
I disagree with the concept that a media organization can set up a third-party campaign and have its journalism division produce balanced and fair reporting. In my viewpoint, as a former newspaper reporter, it's almost impossible to separate the two without having your political campaigning seep into your news reporting. In a post on the Rebel News YouTube channel, Mr. Levant explained the reason why he registered his news organization as a third party is due to a call center. According to Mr. Levant, this call center phones subscribers year-round. He was advised that those phone conversations could turn political. So Rebel News had two options: register as a third party or shut down its call center for the remainder of the election. It decided to register with Elections Canada as a third party. So what is a third-party advertiser? According to Elections Canada, a third-party advertiser is a person or group that wants to influence or participate in an election. They are someone other than a political candidate, political party, or riding association. Third parties are restricted from interacting with candidates, parties, and associations, which is interesting. Considering Mr. Levant was both at the English and French debates and has registered Rebel News as a third party, he could be in violation of the regulations surrounding how third-party advertisers operate. But I do remember Mr. Levant saying that he asked no questions at the leaders' debate, so he may be in compliance. To me, it's kind of a murky gray area. For Canada seems to be a campaign against Mark Carney, as the website declares Mark Carney is not for Canada. The website has a number of videos. The last posted video was April 14th as I record this episode. Canadians, permanent Canadian residents, businesses, and companies operating in Canada can contribute financially to third parties. There's no limitations about how much money a person or business can donate. The Elections Canada Act doesn't require third parties to issue receipts to contributors. According to Elections Canada, more than 90 organizations have registered as a third party. They include labor unions, professional associations, and agricultural organizations. There are two media groups that have registered. They are Friends of Canadian Media and Save the CBC 2025. Both groups seem to support the CBC. which is the state broadcaster. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has promised to defund the CBC if elected. Let's turn our attention to Mr. Poilievre and the Conservative campaign. Taking a look at 338 Canada's projections, this is a two-horse race between the Liberals and the Conservatives, with Liberal leader Mark Carney being in the lead. There could be upsets in Alberta. The Liberals have a chance to win 4 seats in Calgary, maybe even 6 in Edmonton. Again, these are simply projections, not definite. Historically, Alberta is conservative. The province's Premier, Danielle Smith, provided Mark Carney with a list of demands days prior to him calling an election. According to Ms. Smith, the next Prime Minister must address these demands within 6 months of being elected to office to avoid an unprecedented unity crisis. Former Reform leader Preston Manning has been hinting, and I don't think hinting is the right word, but fear-mongering seems too harsh for what he's advocating, that Western Canada may separate if the Liberals win a 4th term. Personally, I don't think the Premier's list, or Mr. Manning's musing of succession, as he likes to call it, are particularly helpful to the Conservative leader when he has few political allies. The Conservative infighting in this election has been messy. The knives have been out for Mr. Poilievre since the election started. The CBC reports there's beef between the federal Conservatives and Nova Scotia Progressive Conservative Premier Tim Houston. From what I understand, the rift stems from comments made by Mr. Houston last year, where he stated that the PCs and the Conservatives are not the same party. Which is true. He has a point. The Premier didn't make an appearance at Mr. Poilievre's Nova Scotia rally. And then there's Progressive Conservative Premier Doug Ford. There is, allegedly, bad blood between Ford's camp and Mr. Poilievre's campaign manager, Jenny Byrne. Corey Tenike has been a vocal critic of the Poilievre campaign. Mr. Tenike, who has ran Mr. Ford's 3 election campaigns, is also the former communications director for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. And Mr. Ford has made it clear where he stands. And I'll play a clip.
You know, something as for Corey, I've said right from day one, he's tough as nails, but he's the best campaign manager in the country. And to be very frank, if Corey was running that campaign, I don't think Mr. Poilievre would be in the position he's in right now. But there's still a lot of time left. We still have debates. At the end of the day, the people will decide which way they want this country to move forward. But sometimes the truth hurts.
Just a note, Mr. Ford made those comments earlier this month. All of this, as they say, is inside baseball. But what's happening among Conservatives is a very public airing of grievances as well as a clash of personalities. If the predictions are correct and Mr. Poilievre loses, things may get nasty. Also, with provincial Progressive Conservatives premiers distancing themselves from Mr. Poilievre, could the marriage between the Reformer/Canadian Alliance and the Progressive Conservatives be over? When these political parties merged 20 years ago, I felt the Reformers were too rigid in their viewpoints and the Progressive Conservatives weren't as conservatives as their marriage partner. Mr. Houston is correct when he says his party, the Progressive Conservatives, is not the same as the Federal Conservative Party. The Federal Conservative Party was formed after the Progressive Conservatives lost the 1993 election. They wandered a while in the woods. The Reform Party came to prominence. They realized that if they didn't merge, they continued to split the Conservative vote, so they merged. And the problem is that Mr. Poilievre is the 3rd elected leader of the Federal Conservative Party. They haven't had a leader in power since Stephen Harper. And I believe Mr. Harper was the party's first leader. Now, going back to Alberta, if the Conservatives lose seats to the Liberals on election night, it will be difficult for either Ms. Smith or Mr. Manning to continue their dance with Western separation. Because if Albertans are willingly choosing Liberals federally, it's hard to make that argument. Mr. Poilievre must be concerned that he may lose seats in Western Canada. He was in Saskatchewan Thursday evening for a rally, and again in Calgary, Alberta, for another on Friday. According to media reports, he's having a rally in his own riding on Sunday. To make matters worse for the Conservative leader, there's speculation he's at risk of losing his own seat. More than 43,000 voters in the riding of Carleton cast their votes during the advanced polls last weekend. There have been media reports that internal polling shows that Mr. Poilievre is in a tight race with his Liberal competitor, Bruce Vanjoy. I'm not shocked that Mr. Poilievre is at risk of losing his seats, and I should say, if the media reports are accurate. He has been an MP for more than 20 years. In recent years, the Ottawa area has been electing Liberal MPs. I believe I mused on a previous podcast that I wondered if the decision made by Mark Carney to run in the neighboring riding of Nepean would affect the election happening in Carleton. The media says Mr. Poilievre's riding is rural. Some parts of it is, but a lot of it is suburban. While rural people do have a tendency to vote Conservative, there's definitely change in the air if 43,000 people showed up to vote early. And that change may not be in Mr. Poilievre's favor. This election is a referendum on American President Donald Trump. For my international listeners, Canada has had a Liberal government for nearly a decade. 10 years is the usual lifespan of a government before Canadians kick the governing party to the curb. Before the winter break, Mr. Poilievre and the Conservatives had a 20-some point lead on the Liberals. At the time, then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was deeply unpopular with Canadians and even with some members of his own party. With Mr. Trump's saber rattling in the Oval Office, threatening Canadian sovereignty with his 51st state rhetoric, along with Mr. Trudeau's sudden exit, Canadians could be on the cusp of handing the Liberals a fourth mandate. Canadians may perceive Mr. Carney as the better capable candidate of handling the American president and the Canadian economy. With that being said, the only poll that counts is the one that happens on Election Day. And Election Day is this Monday, April the 28th. If you're a Canadian who has yet to vote, please do vote on Monday. It's important that you have your say. That's it for this episode of Follow the Lead podcast. Thank you for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.